Income inequality, the gap widening dramatically since the 1970s. Now, Republicans say the president's proposals to raise taxes on the rich to pay for tax cuts for lower and middle income Americans encourages class warfare. But what about the battle for the middle class? Joe Trippi is former campaign manager for Howard Dean. Ed Rollins is former national campaign director for Ronald Reagan's 1984 run and President Reagan's political director, both of them Fox News contributors. I want to read for you something that Chris Steyerwalt just put out in his Fox News First column online. He writes, not only will this package, the package the president proposes tonight, will it not pass a Republican Congress, it wouldn't have passed a Democratic Congress. Some of the items actually already got rejected by Democrats, and others he would never even have proposed for fear of forcing a difficult vote for Democrats. A tax on college savings funds? An increase in the death tax? Yikes. The headlines are delicious, but the proposals are all empty calories. Remember, these are not policies that have been broadly popular in his party. Do you agree with that, Joe?
I mean, to some extent, I think Chris is right that a lot of these policies wouldn't have been put forth right before the elections because the president didn't want to put those Democrats that were standing in those tough Senate races in a more difficult position. Turns out they lost anyway, so that maybe he should have tried them then. But the American people, I think, are looking for policies that are going to help the middle class out. I think that's why you're even seeing, Mitt Romney talk about, how he's going to position himself as helping to end policies to end poverty. So this income inequality, it has been real for quite some time. It did get worse over the last 6 years, and the president is getting on the offensive, I think, to try to, to do middle class out, not trickle down. I think that's going to be his message tonight. But
Ed, do you agree with what Chris has to say about the president and the fact that some of these proposals would not even get Democratic support?
Well, they wouldn't have gotten Democrat support. Otherwise, he'd have moved it when he was moving things in his first 2 years in office.
So why is he proposing them now?
He basically is trying to polarize the country. He's basically into it's us against you. That's always been his strategy. This is the same rhetoric he gave when he first ran for office. The rich people are making too much. The poor people are not enough. So let's take from the rich. It's the Robin Hood policy. Let's take from the rich and give to the poor. What people forget is that he gave a dramatic increase in taxes after he got reelected, which he restored the Bush tax cuts on the upper income. They're paying an extremely high amount of taxes today. And I think at the end of the day, we need tax reform, but we need tax reform in a comprehensive package. And it's not just taking from one and giving to the other. We need to basically lower the highest tax rate in the country and the world for the corporate entity. And it's a comprehensive plan. And this is all rhetoric, and it's going to go nowhere. It'd be dead on arrival.
Joe, that's one of the issues that Republicans are complaining about. They say, look, we're ready to do tax reform, and we've been talking about it. We want to reform individual taxes. We want to reform corporate taxes. And the White House has just rolled a big grenade into that tent by bringing out this proposal right now.
Yeah, no, look, I think one of the more interesting things post-election, I think a lot of people thought the president was going to step back and instead, he's gone on the offensive, and not just with Cuba, I mean, with a number of issues. And I think now with the State of the Union address, he's clearly signaling that he intends to go on the offensive again, to push this idea of the middle class economics versus trickle-down economics. We saw the Wall Street, Wall Street and records that we've seen in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, all that stuff. Everybody's seen records get set on the Dow, but the middle class they've been dribbling down. So I think he's going to take that, and I think what's most amazing is I think the biggest thing here is it's clearly showing he's going to go on the offensive the rest of his last 2 years, which I did not expect. I think most pundits didn't expect it.
And Ed, the Republicans say you boost taxes on investment income, you raise the capital gains, you get less investment, less jobs.
Well, that's standard. And obviously, if the president wants to shadow box himself, he can do that up in the West Wing of the White House somewhere. But at the end of the day, if he wants to engage Republicans who now have a majority, not just here but across the country in state legislatures and governorships and what have you, or does he want to basically throw little hand grenades at them that they'll fire right back at him? This basically is not a serious proposal. It's a big increase in other spending that's ridiculous when you've got an $18 trillion deficit. And he's basically doing exactly the opposite of what the country wanted in an election that just totally repudiated him just a few weeks ago.
We will hear more of it tonight. Ed Rollins, Joe Trippi, thanks.